Welcome everybody to our June meeting of the Bronzeville Neighborhood Association, June 13th, 2026. And President Willis Brown is helping somebody who had cataract surgery, so he won't be here today. But we will continue on. There's a lot of things happening in the neighborhood, and we encourage anybody and everybody to come to the meeting in person so you can voice your concerns, interests, whatever you might want to say. You're always welcome. And we're online so people can watch us from the neighborhood, outside the neighborhood. We have a lot of response to our various meetings. And for general knowledge, we will not have a meeting in August. That's our month off. That's our vacation. And we'll have the next meeting will be the second Saturday in July. So the past month has been very active in many ways. So one of the interesting things that we had was a request from Central Community House to do a tour of the Bronzeville neighborhood. So we had a group of seniors, there were approximately 30, the bus was full, and we did a tour a week ago Tuesday, about a week and a half ago. So we went to the far extremes of the neighborhood and in between, and they enjoyed the tour very much. Several of them live in the neighborhood still. Some of them have lived in the neighborhood. They were all familiar with the neighborhood. And so we stopped at various locations between our boundaries of Taylor to the east, Jefferson to the west, Broad Street to the north, and Broad Street to the south, Leonard to the north. And one of the interesting highlights of many was when we visited the current site of the Latitude Housing Project at Leonard. And we stopped and talked about that quite a bit. And they were very knowledgeable, but they said they learned things on the tour, which is nice. So Central Community House has supported us in many ways over the years. And Central Community House had the nice event with Rita Smith earlier in the year. So Bronzeville is very supportive of Central Community House. So amongst the other things, when we go to development, we can go to the discussion of the Latitude development on Leonard. Those are the big towers that are now starting to be in the process of demolition. They took the pyramids off. They had the ceremony for the beginning of the demolition a week ago, or several weeks ago. And it'll take a good number of months to bring those down. And so they're deconstructing the towers. And this has been an ongoing discussion in the community for several years. Because you remember several years ago, Christmas, close to Christmas Day, Christmas Eve, there was a water break. They vacated everybody, and they weren't able to take anything out of the apartments. So all those people had to find new housing, and discussion became whether to save it or bring it down. It was decided to bring it down, which we're happy to see. So that new V group, including development, is now putting together a proposal which you have seen preliminary, and it has to have the same number of units that are there now, and they can have more, but at least the minimum to match what exists. And it'll be much smaller in height, so it'll cover more area. It won't be big towers, and it's going to be mixed income. And we said we want all kinds of people. We want families, seniors, singles, apartments, assisted living, whatever. We want it as much as we can get. Variety of people, which makes for a stronger community. And then as we were talking to the seniors, we explained that the old Felton School was adjacent to it and the old Monroe Middle School was adjacent to it. And those are both City of Columbus school properties. So they brought them down. So the Columbus Public Schools releases those kind of properties to groups, developers that are going to do something that is best in higher use. And the closest example we have to that is the new senior center right across Broad Street there between Monroe and 18th, which is a wonderful place. They have all kinds of events there. And that used to be the old Douglas Elementary School. So we have a close example of what can be. And so the Columbus Public Schools, when they released that site, they have now the sites connected. So it has to be both those sites, which is a huge area, which is bigger than the Nuveen site. So we are saying, and other people are aware, that that is ideal housing. And with the other housing that Nuveen is doing, we have already 200 million plus in that project, which is a lot of money in this community. As some of us remember, not too long ago, we were told, who wants to invest in that community? Well, now people do want to invest in this community. So with the adjacent school sites, it's conceivable this could be close to $1 billion when you take everything with land transactions and the new housing, which is really remarkable. And to have the amount of housing in, say, 5 to 10 years there is going to help everything. Restaurants, schools, the tax base. It's going to bring more people in for all the events we have in the neighborhood, for arts events, music events. So there are many of us who have been in this community for a while and said, this is the place to be. Now people are building things and coming in realizing, yes, it is a place to be. So it's very good for all the future things that we have. Now, when you have projects come in like this, of course, people are concerned what it does for tax. There are taxes on their home, for property tax, things like that. So again, that's a big concern we all have. But there's got to be, and the state keeps saying they're doing it, a way to keep seniors in their houses without people who have lived there 20, 30, 40, 50 years, or family home for 100 years, being forced out. That can't happen. So there's more and more discussion about that. So we're saying it's not an either or. We can't be getting development, and then that means other people move out. No, we're keeping everybody here. So Willis Brown and others of us have talked about this endlessly. So we're going with that. The other interesting thing is we had the big event at the Deal apartment building this past Thursday at Hamilton, and between Hamilton and Elijah Pierce there on Long Street. And several of us that are here went to that. And it was impressive. And I know Sue was there and enjoyed it. And it was, yeah, it was good. There were about 100 people there. Yeah, yeah. So that is Michael Kelly is the developer of the project, working with Richard Deal a good number of years ago, 6 years ago, I think he was saying, when they started the initial discussion. And Richard Deal had the well-known, respected, admired funeral home on the very site. But they decided they wanted to do something else for the community. And so the funeral home closed. And then Michael Kelly, working with the architects, started to move the project. Richard Deal passed before it was completed. But his family, his wife, Stell, and his son was there. And, of course, we had jazz, because the family is known for being musicians. So excellent music. It was catered real nice. So they let us go around through the building. So we went and had the tour up on the 5th floor with that beautiful apartment that looks out over downtown. And it's available if anybody's interested. And then we saw some other apartments. And then we had the big community dedication event on the 2nd floor. And so Michael Kelly spoke quite a bit. And he made it clear that it was a good working relationship with the Deal family on that building. And the Deals have done a lot in the community and have been strong supporters of Bronzeville for quite a while. So we are looking forward to that project succeeding, having people rent the apartment. And the other nice thing is, as the project developed, Michael Kelly said that he would like to consider putting something that acknowledged Bronzeville on the building. So communicating with Willis and I and some others, we suggested we put a sign on the top of the building on the north side facing downtown that says Bronzeville. And we know there's been discussion lately online and other places that where's the sign? Is it going to happen? It's not going to happen. No, it's going to happen. And Michael Kelly talked to us again Thursday during the event. And he made it clear he wants to put a sign worthy of the building and Bronzeville on the top. So it's not going to be the cheapest, quickest thing to do. So he has the baseline, what it's going to cost. So we in the community have several ideas to help toward the funding of this sign. So it's going to happen. He's made it clear this is an important part of the building. So he wants to have the sign up before the end of the year. That's the plan. So they recently put up the clocks. There's 3 clocks on the building. So there's all kinds of things in this building you don't have in other buildings downtown. Nobody puts clocks on buildings anymore. And he has the Deal sign on it, which is nice. But the Bronzeville sign will be lit up, and you're going to see it from way downtown. And when you go on the freeway, north or south, you're going to look up over toward that way, to the right, to the left. You're going to notice Bronzeville up there, which is going to be impressive. It's really going to be nice. There's not too many neighborhoods that I know of that has a sign facing downtown on the freeway that says their name. So he's excited about it. And Michael Kelly is in the neighborhood. He lives in this neighborhood. His wife, they have a young baby, just born, young infant. They were there. They're excited about being in the neighborhood. He also did the project with Shiloh. So he's committed to having this sign. So any naysayers, I'm warning you, you're going to go by and suddenly you'll see a sign. So work with us toward the funding on the sign. And the next thing, yes, please.
Yes. We're talking about the deal. And I asked Kelly, where are the prices for the apartment? He's very basic. Because I thought he would have a handout, show the layout and the price. If people come to the reception, they may want to rent. And he's very basic. I didn't have it. I don't have my cards. I thought that was slick. But anyway, that's my opinion. So I went back to the next table and said, here is the cost of the apartments. 1 bedroom is $1,100. 2 bedrooms is $2,600. We need to know that when you talk about senior citizens and affordability. You see what I'm saying? You talk about left and you go right. So yeah, we're gonna help the seniors to get 2 bedrooms, $2,600, 1 bedroom, $1,100. And what was the penthouse? I went, what's the charge for the penthouse?
I'm not sure.
No, and that was closed there. I couldn't get that. I just was curious to see what was the other charge of that penthouse.
Did you see? I wasn't there.
I went upstairs to see the penthouse.
No, I was going to ask, did you see the one that
They wouldn't have see. They wouldn't show us with their apartments. I thought that's what I'm saying. There's a lot of inconsistency. I went to see the apartments. 221 is the apartment they used to show where people want to see it. We couldn't see it. They took us to the 5th floor and seen the penthouse stuff. That's great, but I kind of want to see what a 1 bedroom is so I could tell other people what it looked like. No, it was locked. None of us. We got the second and third, we didn't get to see the apartments. Good question, Hopkins.
Well, it's call them up and say you want to see one of the rooms. And they'll, I'm sure they're going to do that.
I went to next thing you know, young girl was lost. Yeah, I don't know. I can't show you everything.
So
she's afraid to show anything.
So, well, I don't think they're afraid to show
Well, she
because
was. I'm just giving my
okay,
opinion, I told her.
because we have the Adelphi, we have the Ogden, now we have the Deal, we have the Illuminary. So all these apartments are available for people who are curious. Now, the prices on this certain building, of course, are going to be a little bit more because of its location. Location. What Michael Kelly did working with Shiloh Baptist Church when they did the Illuminary further down Hamilton, right there at Mount Vernon, is a lower price point. And it has more affordable apartments.
Where's
They,
that? I'm sorry, where's that?
the Illuminary, right there at Shiloh.
Okay.
The Illuminary, right there at Shiloh. And then they also have, it's like an L on the other side of Mount Vernon going towards St. Clair. Those existing buildings, they did those.
How much is
So
one bedroom at
I don't
I see
know.
a bunch of senior citizens Monday. They ask me all the time. They want those apartments, but we don't have details. I hate this vagueness. We need details.
So that'd be a great thing for you, Sue, to go over there and you can say, I mean, your curiosity is wonderful. It can give us information. So the I know there is somebody from Bethany who lives there in those apartments, that the Illuminary is very pleased that he's there. So
I think the luminaries, if I'm not mistaken, because I met with the pastor, I'm pretty sure the luminaries are based off of your income. So I can't tell you, not obviously not the deal, but the ones that's in partnership with Shiloh
right.
are based off of your income. So I do know that, and so it's not the same.
Those they say based upon income base. And that's what I heard. So I like to go and get facts. That's why I come to the meetings.
Yeah, so I know for a fact the ones that are in partnership with Shiloh are definitely based off income, because that was why they did the partnership. That's why they decided to work together.
Okay, thank you.
Right. Which is what we're encouraging other churches to do, is have that relationship between a developer and themselves. And the nice thing about the Illuminary is they came together, and economically both of them are getting benefits from the project. So it's an example of what other sites in our neighborhood can do. And the nice thing about the what Kelly and other developers are doing is price point variance. We go for more affordable is not necessarily the best word. People who have less means, because affordable can be whatever. Just because it's affordable doesn't mean it's actually affordable to most people. So we go from lows to highs and in between. But historically, again, this neighborhood, the higher priced real estate has always been from Broad Street north. So this is a historic thing that is maintained, has been maintained all through the tumultuous periods since the Second World War up to the new current development in the last 10, 15 years. That block from Long Street to Broad Street has maintained its value. Other parts of the neighborhood did not to the same extent. So it makes perfect sense for the Deal, where it is, and it's right across the freeway from downtown, that it would be valued the way it is. So that's not a problem. That's not something that's out of line. Yes.
I'm just opening it up, y'all. Let's be real over here in the community. About a year ago, when they were building at Lincoln Cafe, the Deal had brought over cars and advertising. It said, if you refer somebody, we'll give you $500. Refer somebody to get one of those apartments at the Deal. So that's why I'm just kind of going full circle. Now what has transpired, they do have quite a few occupants in the building so far. I talked to a little kid who came to me, so I work at Abercrombie and Fitch. I live here. I have a 1-bedroom, and it's $1,150. I think they gave him a cut. They gave him a little $1,150, and he's out very pleased. I'm on the 7th floor.
Yeah.
And they tend to be youngsters, 20, 25. I think that's what you're going to find in the building. My opinion on them, you're going to get the younger kids coming into the building. They're young to me, not old, so I can say they're young.
So we have other housing, what they call affordable housing, senior housing, which is online, meaning it's under construction, it's being designed, construction drawings, all that's being done. We have with Trinity and National Church residents, senior housing on St. Clair. Now that's completely different economic level.
Well, I'm sorry. Yeah, Trinity is coming online. I mean, it'll be a year or so, but it's going to be specifically for senior citizens.
So it will have various price points for various types of apartments. So you have those. And then, like I said, the where Latitude is now, which is coming down, and Nuveen is doing, again, the affordable housing and housing for, we want as many different economic groups as possible. It's a major concern and interest to have those who need a little more financial help to be a major part of that community, which they will. So we need to have all economic groups. When you have focused on one group, that's when you can have difficulties. Because if something happens and that group suddenly is under stress, the whole neighborhood feels it. So we're happy with the way housing is going. It's positive.
I spoke to Reverend Victor Davis, came to Thursday Club and spoke. He handed the handout of what the apartments were called, and he said, we kept the land. That was critical, black folks. We kept our land. Critical. We all amen that. But National Church Residency will manage the property. But it's our land. Think about it. You understand this story. It is our land. They will manage the property. He gave the prices, and I can't remember what the apartments are right now.
Sue, I'm disappointed. We were hoping you'd be able to tell us.
You're supposed to know this stuff.
You knew, you had all the numbers. Okay.
That is exactly what happened with Shiloh. Shiloh still owns that land. They're just getting a percentage on the rent.
Yeah, well, that's what he said too. I think we need to look at that. That's important. So they go back.
Yeah.
So that's important.
Right. So that is a model that we're saying other churches and church properties can use in this neighborhood and other communities. But what's unique about Bronzeville is we have so many churches with so much land. We have a lot of opportunities. So we hope with these two examples that in the near future some other churches do. I know there's churches that have thought about it and are considering how to do it, but as more actually happen, I think we're going to feel a little more willing to do it. And then the other thing we're having in addition to apartments is we're having a lot of infill housing, which is nice. And infill housing is where you have vacant lots and then a developer or a private individual comes in and builds something to fit between existing houses. And we have a wonderful example on Talmadge, right behind the King Arts Center in the Pythian Theater, where we have two houses that are being built on a lot between Talmadge and Monroe. And this is an example of the city's new ambition to get the inner city homeowners with available land or developers to increase the density on the lots. So we get more people living in an area. And when you have more people, again, that helps everything. It helps the schools, the restaurants, the libraries, events. it makes for a good community. And we in this neighborhood have been open to that and welcome to that because we say that's back to the future again. Because that's what we always had in this neighborhood. Talmadge had numerous houses with the big house facing Monroe, the smaller house in Talmadge. So we had cases where carriage houses, and even way back in the 1870s, 1880s, you had servants and various people on the bigger lots closer to Broad Street. We had various people that helped with the big houses, and then the owners. And we know there were a lot of black maids that did that, and they lived in some of those houses. And then with time, when this community became predominantly African American in the 20s, we had people with a little more money lived in the big house, and then they rented or they actually sold the house to family with a little less means in the back of that yard. So we had that on 18th, 17th, Miami, going way down. So in the city, in the 50s and the 60s, they said suddenly that you can't live like that. That's not a good thing. Slum clearance, all that. So they wiped all that out. We have a few examples of that. And then we come up to 2015 or 2020. Suddenly the city says, you know what? We got this new idea that's going to really help the neighborhoods. So here we are. That's what we say, back to the future. We're back to where we were before, doing the same thing. So on Talmadge, we have a real nice example of that from Talmadge. So again, this neighborhood has been ahead of what's happening, and now it's reclaiming what it already had in many ways, which is exciting. So on almost every block, it seems like there's some kind of new infill housing, and we're getting it in other parts of the neighborhood, going toward Taylor, going toward Leonard, on Champion, so it's spreading out.
How much did you live down there? You know, this house is on Ford Hill. When did you build that? You came up and
Yeah, there's a new one on Garfield.
down the street.
Yeah, which is
I'm willing to buy it.
You said you will buy it.
yeah. So so we have numerous lots up for sale. We have people with projects before the commission that want to do things. So again, it's exciting in the neighborhood because 20 years ago, 25 years ago, people were still leaving, wondering if anybody would even want their property. So it's a complete about face. And does anybody have anything? Oh, yes, read it. Read it, please.
Sitting here trying to from Abshai. But I would hope that when you talk about history, the 20s and the 30s, you have to remember it was wedlock. And you don't use the word it was segregated. And you don't use, you have to remember we didn't have cars. So the domestics had to live close to where they were. Remember, black women couldn't get jobs except for being domestics. So you keep it in perspective, and then you understand how the neighborhood developed. When you talk about the business core, when it finally, after the flood of 1913, when we moved from downtown to the east side, you had the economic base on Mount Vernon and Long Street. But you had to keep the other thing, the housing patterns followed the economics. So I just like, I sometimes get on everybody's nerves, but it just put it in perspective of what was happening at the time. But it definitely was, we were on these streets because of segregation and we were owning our homes, but they weren't fancy like they were on Brighton Road and Broad Street. But those carriage houses and the houses in the back, was because women had the domestic families that supported the families that could afford those houses. Okay, I'm sorry.
No, and thank you, Rita. Rita Smith is a historian that knows these things. She's been recognized, like I said, by Central Community House and other groups, and we appreciate everything you say, your experience, really do. And absolutely correct. This area was redlined. That's been documented. We know that. And we know what that means is couldn't buy property like other people could other places. So the black community was here, and since the 20s, it still to this day is the predominant group in this neighborhood. And that's one of the reasons why the Lincoln Theater is doing programming that is very much directed toward the black community, but the rest of us really enjoy it, so it's a great thing. Same thing with the Pythian and other activities. So and that's why we had the Bronzeville name also. Now,
He has a comment up front.
Yeah, please.
What do you guys say?
First question is, working with the zoning commission, can we even find information to all those infill housing with zoning commission? Or do we have to go directly to somewhere, to the city of Columbus or whoever?
so are you looking for available sites, or are you looking for something that is under?
Well, you have all these houses that are coming up that are infill.
Right.
And then usually they're still being built up, but you don't really see a real estate owner like slapping their name and number on that and say, hey, this is new houses coming in. Please call us so that way we can give it, if you want to buy the house or do you want to rent it out.
Right.
You don't really see anything of that. And I don't see there being landlords for it, or if there is any landlords over there. That could be the first option. Second thing is, when it comes to these apartments, you said about $1,000, $2,000. Is that going to be what is the amenities that is within that? Because if it's $1,000 and $2,000 a month, and then I have to still put my laundry room, I still have to get laundry, I still have to, there's parking, but there's not much of parking, and there's not any of that, and that's just $1,000 wasted that on the rent.
Yeah, several of these things you could go to a site and pull up, for instance, the deal or the Ogden or the Adelphi, the Luminary, and they'll give you that information. The deal in the Ogden, the deal have parking underneath, and they're meeting the requirements. Yes, we.
You know, talking about listing, you have your Bronzeville,
Yeah, a lot of that's on.
those folks need to be utilizing that, communicating with people in the community. I don't know if they've thought about doing that.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the marketing approach of these various groups are, but we talked to them. We'll have to bring that up. We'll bring that up with, of course, the latest one, and say you've got to be a little more visible in what you have, and because people are asking and they're not quite sure where to go, but. I know people are moving in, so people are finding out about it. And but when it comes to housing, one thing you can do is go Near East Area Commission. You can talk to them. I know you attended several of those meetings, and ask them what is the best way to get that information. And then also you can contact the city, and the city can give you that information also. So then we have the. Monday, we went to city council. Several of us did, and there was some concern with the Columbus Housing Network, which has properties on Mount Vernon, just past Champion, which have been an issue for over 4 years. And our previous secretary lives there. She's still involved with Bronzeville. She's not here today. But she has documented thoroughly all the concerns there. And the way the contract arrangement works with Columbus Housing Network with that property is that if certain conditions are not met and certain things happen, they can have their federal and local funding removed. So with 4 years of emails, documents with the city, interaction with the city attorney, back and forth, Willspound and Motif went to city council and made a presentation. They have been to city council about this topic before, saying that there's crime going on, there's drugs going on, there's been a murder out there, they're not being maintained, problems with trash pickup, shootings, go down the list. So, like I said, if they don't do certain things, they can have their funding revoked. So, they made this presentation and they said, we want you to revoke their funding. We want the federal government, the city to do this. And there are some people on city council that know Columbus Housing Network is a problem. They do have a project on Jefferson, which is between Broad and Long, which is wonderful. They're doing great things, no problems. But for some reason, the management on the one on Mount Vernon is an issue. So, as a result, the city council aware, and they said and made a request, a demand, remove the funding. They need to have somebody else handle this. They went to Channel 4, contacted them, and they made the same documents to Channel 4. So it just so happens that when they contacted Channel 4, the Channel 4 person with all these documents said, well, it just so happens I'm going to Washington, D.C. anyways. So they're going to make contact with federal people in the coming week with all the documentation. They're like that thick stack of documents. So we'll see what happens. Because when the federal people say, what are you doing back there in Columbus? Then the local people are going to have to respond. So that's an example of Bronzeville saying, okay, there's a problem, we have a solution, and then we make something happen. And we've done it before. So this is a good thing, yes.
So, and I'm just curious because I understand like chaotic behavior at the facility and all of that, but was the conversation only let's pull their funding, or was it like let's pull their funding and let's talk about relocation? Because we understand when we get the federal government involved, it's a good thing, but also not a good thing.
Right.
So I guess what was just so I understand, because then that becomes everybody's problem at that point. So what was the thorough conversation with you?
We are excited about the project. We want the project. We need the project. The Columbus Housing Network on its other sites, including Jefferson, just north of Broad, which is successful. The model, what it stands for, everything is right. It's the management. The group that seems to be running this particular location is not meeting what the arrangement was for their funding. They're not meeting those requirements. So they are the problem. It's not the tenants. So we want the building to remain.
So, but that was the conversation, because you know when we get them involved, the conversation then changes from what you want.
Right. That is the primary discussion. The people in there, the people that should be able to go in there, that's what we want. That's good. That's good. It's management is the problem.
No, I agree. We want to be safe. It's just knowing what we all know is it's like we want it to be safe, but also bring you pause and a little bit of fear. So that's why I'm asking, like, what was the conversation? Because we go in, and I'll be quite after this, we go in with one intention, and then we have this super uber conservative administration come in and then do the opposite of what it is that we can ask for. So that's what we bring you pause.
Initially, all they wanted to do was to curtail some of the activity
Right,
that
yes,
was on in the
absolutely.
facility. And that went on for several years. And nothing was being resolved to the point that within the last couple of months, there was an actual murder.
Yeah.
People who own homes in that area take their kids to school. There's a body laying out in the street, or halfway in the street in the driveway. So then that's when they shifted and said that obviously asking you all to make some adjustments weren't working. So maybe it's the management that is the issue here, because look at what's happening on Jefferson. No issues at all.
Yeah.
Mount Vernon, they're saying, well, maybe because of this area, hey.
Yeah, maybe
we're
that's
not worried
acceptable.
about it.
Yeah.
And so that's what's transpiring now, is that obviously trying to work with them wasn't getting anywhere. So now we're saying, okay, then maybe we need to focus on what the management is doing, because maybe the higher ups aren't aware of what's going on. If you got less than half mile, perfectly no issues. Half mile over here on Mount Vernon, like I said, you can go there on some days and you can see the groups hanging out, doing drugs. We got a call from the neighbor saying that, her son said the police showed up and he said, military. It's kind of like, what do you mean the military? And then they find out that there's a body. So somebody had called and SWAT comes in.
Right.
So this is the kind of, it's almost like it's escalating versus starting to de-escalate with all the issues that are happening.
What has been the actual conversation? Because especially when we talk about property management, then we talk about what is the actual, I know we need to talk to the city, and I don't represent this area right now, so this is why I'm asking these questions. I'm farther. But my question is, what has the city attorney said, and what has he done? Because I know what he did with Colonial Village, but in this case, what has he done? Because that's where the
There
conversation.
was conversation, but the problem is that nothing was really changing, because whatever they were saying that they were doing was not actually occurring, because they were actually able to document people still doing the hangouts. They were showing that some of the windows in the building were broken out. And that means that management isn't taking care of basic needs. So, and we're talking, like I said, we got another facility over here that they manage, where no issues. You go down the street and you've got windows that are broken out. What's going on that is being allowed, other than for their management to be doing something that they're not, or not to be doing something that they should be doing?
Do we have the address?
Yeah. Tiara Ross, our District 7 representative on City Council, was with City Attorney. She's been involved in this discussion. She knows about it. So there's been ongoing conversation, and the group, Once Housing Networks, would not meet with Bronzeville. They would only meet with the city. They wouldn't come together, which was an issue. So they're already on the hot seat, but we're saying, okay, but this continues, we need to do something. So, and Tiara Ross's experience working with City Attorney with housing has been helpful, and that's why we're continuing to push on this. So the city is well aware of the situation. And Motique's not here, so I don't know the address.
Okay.
But it's on the north side of Mount Vernon, between Champion and the Winter.
Graham.
No, it's
Champion
further
Graham.
towards Tabor. You're talking about that little store, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm.
It's west of that store. There's an apartment complex right there. And sometimes you go down there, like I said, windows are broken out. That's management. That's an issue with management. If you're in a, there's supposed to be, that's not something that should be allowed.
Do you have like a pencil? Because like the west and north and stuff are really
Okay.
like what's something that? Because I grew up in Trenton, so I know what I'm looking at. You just
Let me wait.
Or just pull up Columbus Housing Network and you'll get the location.
It's at the corner of Graham and Mount Vernon.
Brandon. Thank you.
Is it? Okay. He's been out here.
So that's, and so that's good. We had a good response from City Council that they're concerned. And then in the same conversation, or soon after that, got up there and we talked about Long Street and the concerns we have with Long Street. With all the development on Long Street between Monroe, well, it's actually go down to 17th now, 17th to the deal where the freeway is, we're having parking concerns. Because now, with the apartments and the shops, we have people who are saying, I can't get in, I can't go there, there's nowhere for me to shop or park. So I can go to the Creole Kitchen, so I can go to the Matisse Flower Shop, so I can go to the Waves, which is frustrating and disappointing because we told the city 25 years ago, we need to have parking. We need to have a building across from the Lincoln that includes a parking garage, apartments above, and retail facing the Lincoln Theater. And it stopped and start numerous times. We also own the lot immediately to the west of the Lincoln Theater. So we said, city, you working with us in the neighborhood have created a very successful little nucleus here, which is going to encourage other development. But now it's at risk. We're going to lose everything we have. Please help us. We need parking. Don't destroy what we create. So we said we need to have a meeting. So we're going to hopefully do that. So again, we'll make the same proposal that we have previously. And we already have a project. We have a developer who went to an architect and came up with a preliminary look at what that could be. So it's not something somebody has to dream up. There's already something out there and it's been shown to the city. And the city owns the lot directly across the lake. So it can solve the problem. So we'll see where it goes again. Then the other thing is the new Nuveen project, where the towers are. And we have made it clear, this project needs to show serious minority participation in construction. Deconstruction. You better have people that look like this community. You better have a good number of them, because we all know what happened with the Adelphi. The Adelphi was supposed to do the same thing. But the Adelphi got tangled up because some bad things happened with the individual who was going to bring the people in and work with the city. I won't elaborate any more on that, but the city and everybody knows what happened. So we're saying, okay, we in the community really got the short end of the stick with the Adelphi. This time it better work out. So, all right, that's where we are. We're watching. Everybody else is watching. So that was good. We had a good response there. So, and we have somebody in construction here who knows what we're talking about.
Who's gonna, what does it look like when it comes to that parking space right across, not right across the Lincoln Theater? What's the concept?
Well, the concept is parking underneath to the back, and it could have more than one level possibly. And then in the front, you would continue a commercial look. So at the Adelphi, you have a bank, then you have a flower shop, and then you have another retail space available. Across the street, we have a Creole Kitchen, and we have some other small businesses in the street.
Right.
So that's what we want on the street. Now, up above, the second floor is apartments. Second, 3, 4, could be 5 floors maybe, 4 floors. So, and they would wrap around the corner on Garfield. So this parking would help the people in the building to the west, which is there now, which is where the Lincoln Cafe was really. It's being redone.
So the thing is that it's still going to be impossible. Even if you have that lot that's right over there, that was once a private detective police office lot, it's still, even if you were to rebuild it or repave it or try to
but a second and third floor, it's not gonna be much. I'm always there every single time at 7 p.m. when I get home, and I still can't have parking spot. And it's not just because of the Lincoln. The Lincoln, we've already have dealt with that. And it's not because of the Heritage Festival. We've already dealt with the Heritage Festival. The thing is that it is because of things like Waves. Waves, it's not, I don't know what they're doing over there, but every Wednesday, every Thursday, almost every Tuesday, I hear them in the back partying and going crazy. And then every single time I walk outside, when I go down and when I go into my car, I see beer bottles, I see whiskey bottles, I see motorcycles still parked out there. I don't know what's in there. I've also seen Camaros and sports cars driving into that parking spot, blasting large amounts of music out there. I think they might just be showcasing it because they got people over there at the Waves that want to showcase it. And then that's also going to hurt Broad Street because they put their hazard lights on and park in the middle of the street. So I don't know what you're going to do for parking,
But the problem is that most likely it's just because of the events. Now, I would say that if you want to provide more parking, there is that retail that's right across from where Delphi is, that old convenience store. That could be something. Because that's across where Canabar is. And then you have what was that other lot? Maybe I forgot what the name of that lot.
Yeah, there's several going down the street.
There are several lots that are there. The problem is that those are privately owned lots.
Right.
What he's focusing on is the fact that the city owns that, and that wouldn't be something where you have to negotiate with an owner so that he's getting his benefits out of it for the benefit of providing more parking for potential retail that might be coming in.
So that,
And like you said, Waves. I mean, you know,
almost every day.
And let me tell you, I live on Monroe and I'm close to Spring. I'm a few houses in Spring. People are parking north of Spring Street and walking to get to the Waves. So I don't know what it is they're doing there, but yes. And they don't care. They're just a whole group of them, 2 or 3 people having conversation, and they're heading to the Waves.
Bigger question is how much space do you even have, especially when you have a kilo?
Well, that's only one lot.
Mm-hmm.
The city owns a lot adjacent to the Lincoln Theater, immediately to the west. That's a big area too. So that's available for parking, which could use the same model we're talking about directly across.
Mm-hmm.
I know we talk about directly across and Lincoln most of the time, but there's 2 city lots. So you can do the same things on both lots. Now, the other thing is, the Adelphi has a lot of wasted space with its parking in the back. That's an opportunity to do another situation sometime in the near future. You can do multi-level parking in there. That surface parking is a wasted, the way they have it laid out, is not optimal. So these things can be improved, but the city is the one who can do the most the quickest. And when the city does something, then that encourages other people to consider.
I'm not sure that people who don't live in the buildings would be very comfortable if it's not surface parking, okay?
Well, you can have surface parking, but you can have more parking besides just surface.
Yeah, but if people don't want to go into the basement parking lot, okay, in that area. People who don't live in that area would be hesitant to do that, I think. They're more comfortable with surface parking where everything's visible.
Well, we had that downtown for the last 50 years, and it was all surface parking. And we had no people downtown. We lost all kinds of people in this community. So when you have more people, you have more businesses, and everybody has more cars, surface parking is kind of, back in German Village, short north, becomes something of a luxury, something that private homeowners will have. People coming in to go to businesses or other places are going to have to park differently than they used to. I mean, that's one thing about Columbus. I know it's used to the surface parking. But other large cities have that disappeared a while ago. And I mean, that's with the density that's going on. That's just the way it's going to go. I mean, there's no choice.
So some people will see it as a security issue.
Well, the security, again, they have all kinds of ways to deal with that. And, but like we said, we want businesses in this neighborhood. We're getting businesses now. For the longest time, we were losing businesses. And Rita Smith remembers, and some other people in this neighborhood remember what Long Street and what Mount Vernon is like. And that is what we would like to have. And we're nowhere near it, but we're going in the right direction. We're not losing, we're gaining. So we have that, and then we have Gene Weatherford here about the beautification in the neighborhood. Would you like to say some things
Well,
about it?
we're getting close to a tipping point where everything's looking pretty good. If you drive up, I invite everybody to drive up and down Taylor Avenue, Long Street, Mount Vernon. We had an issue with opening up on housing. We didn't mow the lawn for a month. And the grass got very high. They just mowed it today, okay?
All right. Good.
But we've done, for 2 years, we've been working on the major thoroughfares, north, south, and east, west. And they're all looking pretty good, but it's not going to stop July 1st. Things are going to deteriorate pretty quickly, I'm afraid. But for my health reasons, and because we don't have the money to pay the contractor, it's possible we might get some additional funding by July 1st. But right now, my expectations are that by July 1st, we won't be able to continue.
Yeah.
Do you get volunteers like to help you? I mean, with the snack program that's going on, I mean, I run the St. Dominic's neighborhood cafe. We have with the snack programs. Now people come and need 80 hours of volunteer hours a month. So they come and I use them like if we need stuff instead of paying someone to come and mop the floors, take the trash. They sign up where they have to take the paperwork back to SNAP and a little form they can fill out and we wait for hours and for the volunteer. But I know a couple of people that come and meet in our facility, I see them out helping sometimes.
Yeah, we've used Franklin County Municipal Court Alternative Sentencing Program, and for the first year and a half, they were very helpful for us. Once a month, they come out and do a lot of the heavy work that we couldn't do. The problem with your time, and furthermore, I think that January 1st is going to be a welfare requirement for able men to go out and work and volunteer in the community too. So the city council needs to be thinking about how they can do what it does. But they won't be handling the power equipment, which we need to do with the weed whipper, the leaf blower, any power equipment. Most of those programs won't, because the liability won't involve the power equipment. Half of what we do is power equipment, half is litter pickup. Okay? The litter pickup is unbelievable in this neighborhood. Within 3 or 4 days, litter accumulates, and it's not the owners who do it. It's people driving by the car and throwing out a whole bunch of trash in a bag. Okay, I mean, and then cars can run over and get spread all over the place. We do that probably twice a week, right? Just taking care of huge bags of garbage by cars. Okay, it's a constant problem with litter is, we've shown proof of concept. We're going to show you. Within the next 2 weeks, you drive around the community, we'll show you what's possible, okay? But I'm afraid it's going to fall apart pretty quickly, and then we'll have to find a way to do it. But we've gotten help we've gotten support from Barclays Veteran Church, who's giving us money. Hack from Morrissey's giving us some money. I'm going to request from Central Ohio, for Columbus Metropolitan Housing, I'm going to request them for some money to see if we can go forward and see if that can help us out. But we did not put in a request to City Council, which we were hoping to do. So we haven't asked money from the city, and the city gave money to, they're doing a corridor project on Mount Vernon and Long. The infrastructure is unbelievable what they've been doing with infrastructure. You see cars out there, I mean, big yellow trucks out there every day almost. They're doing the underground electricity, they're doing a lot with infrastructure. They've done some of the sidewalks on Mount Vernon. So they have a corridor project for Long and Mount Vernon. which they're doing a lot of infrastructure with. Last year they redid Taylor Avenue, they resurfaced some of the alleys, so things have been very helpful. But this year they gave money to, they have $70,000 to Urban League to help businesses, okay? But that's not cleaning up the neighborhood, okay? All this money, over half $500 million, over 500,000, is going to be invested by 2028. Okay? It's going to be an entirely different neighborhood. All the inflow from Second Baptist Church, all the inflow from OSU East Hospital and such, all these are going to be filled in. It's going to look entirely different, but we're not there yet. It won't happen until 2028, okay? And then everything will change. It will look entirely different. But the first thing you got to do for revitalization of the neighborhood, you got to get rid of the blight, okay? We're trying to address the bias of low expectations for private elementary school. The third grade reading proficiency is only 10%, okay? Those kids have to walk through trash on the way to school. That's the bias of low expectations, okay? And you can't overcome that easily. The money won't do it. You got to clean it up, okay? Give these kids higher expectations. Same thing with drugs and crime. If you see the area trashed up and there's blight, more drugs and crime, I can walk through a community and look at their streets and sidewalks and tell you where they've got failing schools and crime. Okay, it's just that simple. Okay, we don't look like Russellwood, we don't look like Devon, we don't look like any of the suburbs. And there's been a history of lower standards in this community. The city's accepted since I came here in 1975. Okay? They have a history of lowering the standards, and you've got to get rid of those lower standards. That's what they're talking about in this front out here in the where they got crime. Okay? We got to get rid of those things that are causing problems. And we've been working on it for 2 years. We've got it looking pretty good, but we'd like to continue. But I have health problems, and I can only do that protect, and I can't do that out I've been in the hospital twice with pneumonia. Okay, and that's for the work. So I'm not allowed to do that anymore. So if we had funding, we'd be continuing after July, but we don't have it. And I can't do the woodworking, so that for health reasons, I can't do everything anymore by myself. So anyway, I just invite you to drive through the neighborhood and see what it looks like and see what's possible. Okay?
Yeah, it's you can see the change.
People comment
good.
to us all the time.
Yeah.
It's just so
Yeah. And that's something you just need to stay on top of. And speaking of Trevitt, we have the Bronzeville Strong program, which we've talked about various times. And we don't have the people here today that I was hoping would be here who could elaborate on the program. But the gist of it is that the community, across the country, people realize if the young people aren't reading by third grade, then that opens the door to different paths in life, not necessarily the way we would hope they would go. And things almost start to happen consistently when you don't have that ability. So Trevitt Elementary has amongst the lowest reading scores in the state, has for some time. So,
State?
well,
You say
yeah,
state?
yeah, yeah, in the city, and yeah, it's near the bottom. So, we in the Bronzeville neighborhood, several of us, and people in various churches, and I think Broad Street Presbyterian's been very involved in this, have come up with Bronzeville Strong, where they do intensive involvement with not only the students, but with the families in various activities. And what they want to do is year-round program, because they found that when things are discontinued as the school year ends, they can unlearn what was learned in 3 months. What they learned in 9 months. So they need community participation, education possibilities, interaction with other activities year round, which is what this program is about. And it needed additional funding. So it's gone through some additional funding sources, and they now have a location where they can meet. And we have approximately approximately 100 some students, which was what was needed to get some funding that became available. They had to reach a certain threshold, and when they matched that, then some funding's available. And Yolanda, maybe you know a little bit more about that? Okay. I can't really elaborate much more than that, but it's a positive thing. This has been going on for several years, and we're seeing results.
They're definitely seeing results.
Oh yeah, they're seeing
These
results.
children that came in way below their reading levels, and they have improved almost 95%.
Yeah, so it's remarkable, it really is, and it's one student by one student. It's very intensive and all inclusive with family, like I said, activities, academics, making sure people get to school. That's the big thing also, is attendance, consistent attendance. So all these things. So, and this is an example where the community knew there was a problem. We said it had to be addressed, and we took action. And various groups have come together, and we appreciate all those involved and interest in it. But if there's, we have some very good people who know about education involved in the program, who, if you go to Bronzeville Strong on online, I'm sure you can find out some additional information.
That program is now located at Mansion School
Yeah.
at
For
Woodard
the
and
summer program.
Woodard
Right.
there in Long,
And 905 East Main Street.
Right. So, not yet, hopefully. So with that, if anybody would like to say anything, has any concerns in addition to what we've been saying, yes, Judy.
I'm sorry, but are you doing anything with the celebrating of Juneteenth?
Oh my gosh.
And you have June.
Yes, Juneteenth is Friday. That's the national holiday, which is exciting. I don't know, we're not doing anything directly.
You don't have a table where you can, it would be wonderful if you would realize all that wonderful research you did
Yeah.
with, what's the gentleman's name that was the first manager?
No, James Madison.
Madison.
No,
You know, you guys did some wonderful research.
Mr.
It would
Madison.
be nice, you know, you were talking about some of the issues and using your network.
Yeah.
It'd be lovely if you had a table where you were telling people about what you guys were doing.
Right. Yeah. Again, we have so many things going on in this neighborhood. Occasionally you forget some of the big things. Sorry about that. But Juneteenth, and I know there's various events around the city, and there are some things in this neighborhood.
Yeah, I think there's something going down Mount
Right.
Right.
There's we'll have a festival.
I think there was something in Franklin
We're
Park.
having a table pretty close to the Kinston.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it would be wonderful that Bronzeville
Yeah.
would have something to just talk about what you guys are doing.
Right.
And you do marvelous things. You need to do a little
Yeah.
PR for you.
Advertising.
Yeah. Well,
Thank you so much.
it's online, so we're announcing, please, everybody participate in Juneteenth. There's always evenings going on. And that's, again, this Friday. Does anybody else have any statement, concern? Yep.
Not about Juneteenth. Several months ago, I think it was February or March meeting, I raised a question about a secretary about having minutes of our meeting.
Right.
And have Chairman Brown stated that we would have minutes to get that next meeting. I have not seen evidence of that yet.
Right.
Also, people we just like getting information what's going on in the community.
Well, we have our Bronzeville network, and which is up, and we have various things in place, but we do need to have more community involvement, so some more of these things can be.
And we need to have official minutes.
Sure. Yeah.
But we need to elect another one. And somebody who's willing to do it.
Would you be willing?
No, I'm not willing to do that. These are things we're going to the city, and like,
Right.
we need to have some type of existing record of what's going on.
Right. Which is true, but again, we are documented online, so we do have a record of what's said, what we were talking about. And I realize that's not what you're saying exactly, but we do have a historic record because Rita Smith says some very important things in addition to some other things that we want to have on record.
How can we get on to this information? I'm not a technical.
It's on YouTube channel. YouTube. Yes.
So, yeah, could you elaborate on that a little bit so people can access this?
Okay. Right now we're live on Facebook, but then we'll convert it to YouTube where it's stored. So it's stored on YouTube. The Brownsville Neighborhood Association. So it's on YouTube. You can find our archives on there. But pictures is mainly on Facebook, Instagram, but video full length is on YouTube. Brownsville Communication Network.
Thank you very much. And again, we have several hundred that follow this each meeting, so that's pretty good. And so sometimes we have a good number in the physically attending our meeting here in the basement of Bethany Presbyterian Church. We really appreciate them letting use the space. And other times we have a lot of people, but we're reaching out to people all over the place, being online. So we feel pretty good about that. Yes, we had
No.
absolutely. All right, but yes.
Have you heard anything about what's going on at the Macon on the 20th?
No, I'm not. Don't know anything recently. Are you aware of something or something?
I just heard that it's supposed to be under renovation.
Right. Yeah.
Dinner club downstairs and apartment above.
Right. And that's the same thing I've heard. I haven't heard anything new about that, but like several projects that's out there, and they keep talking about it. So hopefully it continues. It will happen. I don't know any particulars on that project.
I just noticed that they put in new windows in the building.
Yeah.
That's one thing I noticed.
So, which is a good sign when they do that. And with that, take a motion to close the meeting. One. And second. All right.